There we go. Well, welcome. So tonight's webinar is called Parenting with Patience. And we all need more of that, don't we? My name is Judy Arnall, and I am a Canadian Certified Family Life Educator, and I'm also certified in the Brain Story course, which is a brand new course going across North America for anybody who works with children. Whether you're a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, it is a fabulous course, absolutely fabulous. And I'm a little bit of an idealist in that I go to conferences, I read research, I know what the recommendations are, but I also have trouble myself, especially when it comes to screen time, implementing them in my own family. So I have 5 children. They range in age now from 16 to 26. So I have 4 boys and a princess in the middle. 3 of my kids have graduated university. 1 is already on his way there, and my youngest, my baby, is a happy little teenager. Yay! I've written a few books. So what the presentation tonight mainly comes from parenting with patience, because I think we really need to get a grip on things before we can do positive discipline. So tonight I'm going to talk about discipline that is non-punitive, absolutely. And yes, everybody can do it. I gave up punishing my kids when my oldest son was 8 years old. So that means I brought 5 kids through the teen years without spanking, timeouts, consequences, taking doors off rooms, taking away cell phones and computers. Yes, you can parent without punishment. And my goal is to go around the world and let parents know that you can do it. It's possible. Absolutely. And you can do it with just 3 simple little steps. Okay. My books have been translated in other languages. And I also teach for the University of Calgary in their continuing education program. And I also do Alberta Health Services Terrific Toddlers. I think parenting is one of the hardest jobs ever. I think every parent needs a tip jar on their table. I did this once. I put a tip jar and I got these quarters and chocolates and it was all good. And then I put a tip jar in the laundry room, and see, I put a $50 bill in there just to let everyone know that's the, the tips I expect, and didn't get any more. So I don't do laundry anymore. And I think teachers have one of the hardest jobs too, parents and teachers. And I think teachers should have a tip jar on their desk. Absolutely. So where does the information come from tonight? Mostly from Alberta Health Services, and they get their information from the Public Health Agency, the Canadian Pediatric Society, Health Canada, and some of my stuff comes from Parent Effectiveness Training, which is a course that's been around for, 60 years now, about? Yes, okay. So basically, I'm going to follow the agenda from Parenting with Patience. Okay, so parenting has changed, definitely. Even from my first child and my last child in 11 years, we have a lot more information. And ask any parent now, one of their challenges, oh my gosh, who did they believe? There's so much information. So much of it is contradictory. There's a shift from behavior modification to communication techniques. And there's an emphasis now on mutual respect. And that includes no punishment. Parents are told not to punish, but it's very hard to do in practice. Yes. But it has benefits. Absolutely. So we tell parents, try and be a submarine parent. And a submarine parent is that parent who looks beyond the behavior and goes down underneath the water and sees what's going on for that child. What are their needs? What are their feelings? Because if you can address what the bottom of the iceberg is, a lot of times the behavior takes care of itself, right? So that is submarine parenting. And we really need to do that because our kids are living in a new world. A lot of where they go on the internet is not open to us. and we have to trust them and keep those lines of communication open. That's one of the big reasons we stress non-punitive parenting these days, is to so your kids talk to you. So they come to you and say, hey, Mom, I got a problem with this. Or Dad, can I bounce some things off you because I'm dealing with something. I'm struggling with something. Kids need their parents as their lifelines in this new world. And that certainly changed from 30 years ago. I remember 30 years ago, parent authority was based on fear. We want to take fear out of that relationship, or kids will not come to you for help. Now you want your relationship based on that you can lend your knowledge and experience, but there's a mutual respect and communication. So what's the easy 3-step model? Okay. First of all, it all starts with you, okay? Get yourself calm first. You have to be like the airplane. You have to put your mask on first, calm down, get into a space where you can deal with stuff. I know it's hard to do. Believe me, there are times in parenting that you just, but get yourself calm first. And the best way to do that is take a time out. Now, I know there are a lot of parenting books out there that say you got to deal with things right in the minute because little kids forget. And there's no research behind that. That is somebody's opinion that just got relayed. So you don't have to do that. You can always step aside, take a 10 to 30 minute timeout, and come back and deal with it once you're calm. Second thing is get your child calm then. And for children, time in. Time in is helping them get calm because you are calm. And the last piece is then you solve the problem. And that's what we call time together. So timeouts for you, time ins for your children, time together is to resolve the issue. And that's basically non-punitive discipline. Okay, so let's look at this more in depth. So step 1 is you. Get yourself calm. Now, good parenting involves 2 things: structure and nurturing. And kids need both. So what structure is it's helping kids, it's kind of like scaffolding their brain so that you're helping them structure their life, keep them on the track until they can do it themselves, age appropriately. That's all it is. So when we say non-punitive, we don't mean you're hands off and you let kids run around like crazy. What we're saying is that you can structure a child and teach without punishing them. Just being present and talking to them a lot. Excuse me. Nurturing is that warmth and kindness and love that every parent feels for their child, right? So when there's low nurturing but lots of structure, we tend to say that's more authoritarian. When there's lots of nurturing but little structure, it's a little more permissive. And the sweet spot is that green square in the right-hand corner, which is structure and nurturing. What's the difference between authoritative and collaborative parenting? Authoritative is probably what you're seeing a lot out there in parenting programs and books right now. So it's kind of like, I'll listen to you, you listen to me, but I'll make the decisions. And collaborative is more, I'll listen to you, you listen to me, and together let's come up with some win-win. So collaborative is more problem solving with the child. And both of those have very good outcomes. The difference is the collaborative, which is the one I pretty well practice all through my life, is has a lot easier communication. Kids feel they win, you feel you win, and it's just everybody feels good all around. Where authoritative, a lot of times kids feel they're not being heard. So nurturing is the love, the kindness, the caring, the snuggles, the hugs, all that good stuff. And like I said, this is the scaffolding of good parenting. You're putting up the scaffold, you're helping to shape the brain until they can do it themselves. Now, what's structure? Structure is providing education, allowing age-appropriate decisions, and the consequences of those giving guidance and mentoring and teaching. It's using problem solving. It's having family rules and limits. It's having routines, rituals, celebrations. It's providing supervision and monitoring, even for the teen years. And it's having reasonable age-appropriate expectations for your children. And it's modeling responsible citizenship and relationships. So here's an example. Let's say you've asked your child to take out the garbage. It's now nighttime and the garbage is still sitting there. So if you get mad and go and turn off his computer, that's probably more authoritarian parenting. If you say, oh, well, and go do it yourself, that's more permissive parenting. Now, if you do, ask him to come and talk with you when he's done his game, and make sure he comes, and then you problem solve times that are convenient for both of you for him to take out the garbage. That's collaborative problem solving parenting. Okay, you can see the difference a bit there. Okay, so when we're talking about ourselves, we have to talk about parenting anger. Parenting anger is totally normal. Everybody feels anger, and kids do, we do, and how anger gets expressed in your family is important because that's how you teach children how to handle anger. Best way to deal with your anger is take a timeout. If you just walk away before you say anything you regret and separate your anger from your discipline, you'll make much better decisions. Much better. You won't regret anything. Okay, so let's use this example. My son was 4 years old, and he came downstairs and he wanted some big bag of chips before dinner. And it was 10 minutes to dinner. I was in the kitchen making it. And I said, no, you can't have the chips. And he was mad. So he went upstairs with the bag of chips. I found out later. And after about 10 minutes, I hear this stomp, 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 stomp. I thought, what the heck is he doing? So I walk upstairs, like any parent, you got to go and investigate. And he had opened the bag of chips, sprinkled them all over his room rug, and stomped every last chip into the rug. He's a very spirited child, and nothing gets parents more angry than deliberate disobedience. Even non-punitive parents, we are stretched. Our first gut reaction is, so I was really, really, really mad when I saw this, very mad. And the best thing I did, and this is one of my better parenting moments, which is why I'm telling you about it right now, is to take a parent time out. Because if I would have stayed there and dealt with that child, I would have said something I didn't want to say, and I would have grabbed him if I was a spanking parent. So I said, I'm so angry, I'm going to take a time out. And I left. I went downstairs and I called my partner and I had a good cry. And that helped me calm down. So I'm going to play a little video for you of how it feels good to you make that decision. Are you going to lose it or get a grip? And at that point, I made a really good decision. I thought, okay, I'm going to get a grip. I'm not going to lose it. If only we could do that all the time. But we try, right? It gets better. It gets better. The more you take time out before you deal with discipline issues, the better. Okay, so I'm going to play this little movie and watch how she takes a minute, deep breath, and chooses to get a grip.
Carolyn has had a rough day. Between work, the kids, and dinner, she's feeling stressed.
The kids quiet.
Uh-oh. Looks like dinner's gone up in smoke. Let's see what happens next. Will Carolyn lose it?
Stop the noise.
Or will she get a grip? After all, it's not just about the meal. She's setting an example for her kids. Of course, we all feel stress.
So what else goes good with
But when our kids are watching us, they feel the stress too. So teach them positive ways to deal with life's little
And
pressures.
how are my girls? Green beans and...
cereal?
Oh, it's my favorite.
Kids learn how to handle stress from you.
For more information on parenting and child development, visit parentingcounts.org.
So it's really, really, really important to take that few minutes and get a grip. And there's lots of things you can do. She took a deep breath. You can go drink from a water bottle, talk to a friend, have a good cry, go outside and stomp your feet, play a video game, squeeze stress balls. There's lots of things that may work for you. They don't work for everybody. Yelling into a pillow, getting a hug, those kinds of things just get you out of the moment and into a better space. Very, very handy. Now, timeout is a very positive life skill. You want to model it, right? You can't teach kids to take a timeout by forcing them into it, because then it becomes a power struggle. I tried timeouts with my kids and nobody was calming down. I would be putting them in the room, holding that door handle closed, and they'd be throwing things and trashing their room, and I was getting angrier, and it was not good. So I found the best way to teach kids to take a timeout is for me to say, I'm so angry, I'm taking a timeout, and then leaving for however long it takes for me to get a grip. Now, I know from parents, this is a hard thing to do with little kids. But if you have to put your little kids in a crib, make sure they're safe, take a timeout. With older kids, it's easier to walk away. And then I use my I statement. I am so angry, I got to get away. I need to take care of my anger first. And you're showing kids that you're owning your anger. It's about you. It's about you calming down and not reacting to the situation. Okay, let's look at step 2. Okay, now this is about your child. So let's say you've calmed down, you've come back, everything's good. And there are lots of reasons kids get mad. And again, too, they're entitled to feel anger. Everybody feels. It's behaviors that have limits on them. Okay, so it's okay for my child to feel angry when I said no to the chips, but it's not okay to throw them all over a rug and stomp them. That's not how we deal with anger. So back to calming children down. Now, my son, he threw this on his rug that he shared with his brother. So his older brother comes up and sees this and goes, and you know, the fight's on. So, shoo, I'm calm. I come up here and now they need me to step in and make things better. So I pulled the fighting siblings away, grabbed each by the arm. We walked downstairs. Don't say anything. People do not listen to you moralizing in the moment of anger. They're too angry to hear. It's better to just grab everybody by an arm, separate them so they can't hurt each other, and go downstairs. And what I do is I sit on the couch with one child on each side, and I pick up a book and start reading. What that does is it breaks the moment, calms them down, and builds a bit of literacy there. So I read, and they're on the couch, and they're making faces at each other around me, and they're trying to poke each other. And after a while, they are actually listening to the story. So it does work. Another thing you can do is put a movie on your TV. You're not rewarding the behavior. What you're doing is getting everyone to a point of calmness where you can start problem solving the issue. So again, there's no limits on feelings, but there are limits on behaviors. So any child can feel their anger, their exhaustion, their confusion, their guilt, their hurt, their frustration, but they can't throw things, hit people, wreck things, right? Just like we can. We can feel anger, but we can't hit people, or we can't break things. And every family has a list of yes behaviors when you're angry and no behaviors when you're angry. And it's a good thing to sit down with your family and talk about what's allowed when you're angry and what's not allowed. So for example, our teenagers, when they're angry, they're allowed to stomp out of the room and go up to their room and get mad. They're not allowed to wreck anything or hurt anyone, right? And they know that now. They have a better grip on their anger because of their brain development. Same with my partner and me. We're allowed to be angry, but we're not allowed to name call. We're not allowed to hit anybody. We're not allowed to throw things. Although once I did throw a potted plant out the window. Okay, we all make mistakes, and that's okay. We're not perfect. Everybody is normal. So some days we handle things better. Some days we handle things worse. So nobody's judging. I'm sure Dr. Phil had his bad days. He was yelling too. So, and again, these things work for kids too. Only in the moment they need you, a calm adult, to help steer them to it. Okay? So if they want to stomp or run or jump or shake off their feelings or drum, these are all things that help kids calm down too. Sometimes they might need an anger beanbag chair. And that's a beanbag chair. They could just kick it or punch it or throw themselves into it or cry. It's their anger chair. It's a target for them to get their anger out. Now, little kids are very physical. They are. They express their anger and all their feelings physically until they get the words to express them verbally. So you often have to give them something physical to express their anger. Maybe they want to hammer their hands on the floor or the rug or a sofa cushion. You can teach them to breathe, and then in the moment of anger, just breathe with them. Help them breathe to calm down. This is a little anger tube. It's just a paper towel roll that's covered up and decorated, and both ends are open so they can go. Helps them deep breathe, calm down. Stomping's a really good one. You can do that anywhere. Maybe they need a hug. Some kids like it, some don't. Maybe an anger drum, a special drum they can go to when they're really, really mad. I think that's why so many parents of teenagers have basketball nets, because it's a nice physical thing. They can go out there and just shoot some hoops when they're really, really mad and angsty. A stuffy to hug or throw. You don't want to give it to them to throw until they're older and know where to throw it. We had targets, and I'd say the age is probably about age 7, 8. They get a little more discriminate where they're going to throw it. Same with an anger pillow and a bat. This worked for my 9-year-old. We had a little Nerf bat and a pillow, and it helped him get his anger out by batting the pillow. He knew the difference between hitting people and hitting pillows. So it was just worked for him. Doesn't work for everyone. After kids have calmed down, you might want to get them to express their feelings through a picture. And here's this little target where kids could throw their stuffies if they're angry. Biting, again, you want to stop biting, stop hitting, redirect. Say, we don't bite people. Here, bite this. Give them something to do. It's very good to give kids something to do. So when I ask parents, what's your yes list of anger things they can do? And parents are really stumped. They have a no list. They have no hitting, no biting, no screaming, no tantruming, no yelling, no crying. Okay, well, what can they do, right? Everybody needs a yes list. And post it up. Make sure the family knows what's your yes list. Can you stomp your feet? Are you allowed to stomp up to your room and shut the door? Are you allowed to, are your teenagers allowed to swear when they're mad? And every family is different. So figure out what is your yes list. So temper tantrums occur in little kids because they're not very verbal yet. They express their anger and frustration in body language until they get to the adult way where they come up to you and say, Mom, I'm upset that you agreed to pick me up at the train station and you didn't come. That's the respectful way that children release their anger, in an I statement, in words. But when they're little, they do it in body language, and that's okay. They'll grow out of it. And I'm going to play that. So 95% of children have temper tantrums. They usually occur anywhere from 10 months of age to about 4.5. Sometimes they keep having them in the school age years, especially spirited children. So they're not really considered a problem in the DSM-5 until kids are 6 years of age and they're still having 2 or 3 tantrums a day. So there's a big range there. So you can try and prevent, but sometimes you can't. So just move to a quiet spot, wait it out, stay calm, let it rip, and then they always come down. They always calm down, and then acknowledge their feelings when they calm down. You can say, I know you're frustrated because you can't have that chocolate bar when we were shopping. It's frustrating. I hear you. And that's it. The worst thing you can do is give in. So if you said, no, you can't have the chocolate bar, and then they start to tantrum, and you say, okay, well, maybe this time. Don't want to do that because you're encouraging them that it works. Okay. So I love this picture. And just stay close by. They're on the floor. Just wait it out. Don't worry what anyone else is saying. This is a dad and his dad. And I think it's just so wonderful. Stay close. You don't have to punish tantrums. Just let them have it. And then pick them up. Take them out if you want. Go in the car. That kind of stuff. Older kids' anger. One thing about older kids is you want to acknowledge their feelings, give them some space, reconnect with them later, and then make sure they clean up their anger messes. If they make a mess, let them clean it up. So a lot of older kids, they do need time. They just need time. So, let them go to their room. Let them fester for a bit, and then go up there and say, okay, what's going on, right? Acknowledge their feelings. If they're angry at you, they might welcome the time to talk. If not, come back later. If they're angry at somebody else, they will want to talk. So definitely don't focus on what messes they've made. Focus more on how they're feeling, because oftentimes they'll clean up later. For example, my daughter wanted to go on a sleepover she was asking me when we were driving downtown in the car. And I said, no, it's not going to work tonight. And she was angry. So she kicks my garbage all over the car. And I didn't focus on that. What I did was I pulled over and we went for a walk into a place that had a coffee and a hot chocolate. And we sat for a bit. She calmed down. And then we talked, and I said, this is why we can't have a sleepover. And then we were okay. Then we were okay. And then when we got home, I asked her to pick up the garbage, right? Don't ask them to clean it up in the moment of anger. They won't. But they will later when they're calmed down and things are resolved. Timing's everything. Attitude. So when your child's angry, you're going to hear a lot of attitude. But again, look below that iceberg. It's snarky what they're saying, but they're really saying an I message, and they don't know how it to come out right. So teach them how to say the I message, not in the moment of anger, but more later. Okay, so it's important to listen to their feelings. Let's talk a bit about temperament. Temperament is what kids are born with. And some kids are born easygoing, and they stay easygoing all their life. And some kids are born slow to warm up. And some kids are born what we like to call high need or spirited. And easygoing children are about 40%, slow to warm about 30%, and high need spirited about 15 to 20%. And these children are very persistent, and they stay that way the rest of their lives. So they need to fit with a parent who's a little more easygoing and picks your battles. Otherwise, you're going to be battling over a lot of stuff. So be very careful what you go to the wall for. Okay. Okay, the final step is step 3, and that's the restitution or the problem solving. So, time together. Now, let's get back to our chips here. Okay, so I'm now calm. The 2 boys are now calm. Now we have a problem. We have a few problems, actually. First problem is obviously the mess, okay? So when kids are calm, they're a lot more agreeable to clean up the mess. So I said, okay, here's how we clean it up. And he's 4. He's not going to do a good job, but he has to do some. So he got the vacuum out and he vacuumed up most of the chips and a lot of his little toys along the way. And he did an okay job. And then I showed him how to put some carpet cleaner on there and clean the grease up. And that was good too. So he learned something there. He learned how to fix a problem and how to clean a carpet and a mess. That was good. Now our next problem is, what are we going to do the next time he's mad? He can't do this again. So we came up with some ways what he's going to do. He's going to stomp his feet. He's going to scream into a pillow. He came up with some ways of how he's going to deal with his anger. And that was okay too. That solved that problem. And the last problem is the original problem. What are we going to do when I say no to chips, but we're 10 minutes away from dinner? And we solved that by coming up with an idea that he could eat anything on a certain shelf in the fridge, no matter what time it was, and it's healthy. So we solved 3 problems there. And the benefit is, if I was a spanking parent, I would have saw this mess come up and gave him a spanking, and that was it. He wouldn't have learned anything. He wouldn't have learned how to clean up chips, how to handle his anger, or how to problem solve a problem with the person he has a relationship with. So yes, it takes a little more time than a spanking, but it's much more productive and it's non-punitive. Okay, I want to just quietly look at development and capabilities of kids, because everything's a stage. And again, too many parents think, okay, I got to fix this now. I got to nip this in the bud right now at age 2, or it's going to snowball. So if I looked at him at age 4 and I thought, oh man, if he's throwing chips all over his rug now at age 4, how's he going to be when he's 16? Right? Because parents think that way. But he's 16 now. He never throws chips on the rug when he's mad. Now, what he does is, if he's losing a computer game or someone's being mean to him, he tips over his chair sometimes and he stomps up to his room. And I often find him in his bed and he's crying. So we talk about it and it's all good. So the thing you need to see is it a development issue or a discipline issue? Now, executive function is brain development, okay? There's 4 parts of brain development: working memory, focus, self-control, and planning. And as you can see, it grows as kids get older. So, question is, can a 3-year-old play chess? If you said no, that's right. Can a 7-year-old play chess? Yes, because chess involves all 4 components too. So look at executive function capabilities in a 3-year-old. Pretty well here near the bottom. Look at in a 7-year-old. Whoa, look how much that has grown. So everything's a stage, right? So chess is like parents have to, okay, so when kids are playing chess, they need to hold 2 instructions. They need to know that a queen can move across the board, but a horse can only move a certain way. They need to filter distractions, so they have to concentrate in the game and not be taken somewhere else. They need the self-control to take turns and they need plan B. So when your partner jumps over your person, you need to plan a different move. Those are all components of executive function, and a lot of kids don't have them until at least age 5 or 6. This is why kids don't start school until age 6, because they do not have that executive function in their brain development yet to have self-control, to plan ahead, to filter distractions, and to hold instructions in mind. Now you can see from about age 6 to about age 15, they're getting better. And then about age 16, they take another big leap until age 25. And I've noticed that in my kids. My kids at 16 are way different kids than age 7, and 7 is way different than age 3. So from birth to 3, you can see why kids don't listen. And you can see why 4-year-olds don't even listen. And you can see around age 5, yes, they're getting it. They're starting to listen. And not just listen, but actually do what you want them to do, which is yay. So keep in mind, from birth to 3, you're doing damage control. You're keeping them safe. You're keeping their stuff safe. And you're teaching, but without that expectation, they're going to understand it because they don't have a whole lot of executive function. Okay. I'm going to play another video here if I can. Where is that? Yes.
Ever wonder why some children are well organized and have an easier time adapting to change than others? It's a result of how certain skills develop in our brains at a young age. Scientists call these skills executive function and self-regulation, which can be thought of like air traffic control in the child's mental airspace. Think of a young child's brain as the control tower at a busy airport. All those planes landing and taking off, and all of the support systems on the ground simultaneously demand the controller's attention to avoid a crash. It's the same with a young child learning to pay attention, plan ahead, cope with frustration, and follow lots of rules.
When executive functioning skills are working well, they're invisible. It's not like you see them in action because they enable children to be a good student, to be a good friend, to learn well. So they're just kind of hidden. It's really when they break down or when a child is really challenged by these capacities, hasn't had a chance to develop them very well, that you see problems.
Kids with well-developed executive function can deal with day-to-day worries, temptations, and obligations that pile up in their minds. They have the skills to regulate the flow of information and prioritize tasks. Executive function is one of the ways we manage stress and maintain an even keel, even as demands on our attention start to pile up. Kids who haven't developed strong executive function have a harder time directing mental traffic. Without the ability to prioritize, thoughts pile up and collisions occur, leading to frustration and anxiety.
First of all, we aren't born with executive functioning skills. Executive functioning skills are capacities that we learn. It's very important that children be in relatively predictable, unchaotic environments that are free of toxic stress, because when we are surrounded by chaos and disorganization, and especially if we're surrounded by fear and anxiety and a world that feels threatening, it's very hard for children to acquire these kinds of capacities.
Like most skills, good executive function depends on a strong brain foundation that develops in our earliest years of life. Caregivers can help by setting a good example with their own behavior, practicing serve and return interactions, and preventing toxic stress. As kids grow up through their preschool years and even into their teens, a stable, predictable environment will help them develop good executive function skills.
Executive functioning skills can be trained and taught. You do not have to give up on a child who has these problems. There are very sensitive periods during the ages from about 2 to 5 or 6, and again during adolescence. when these skills seem to be kind of growing by leaps and bounds. So you have a couple of opportunities, and ideally do both.
The human brain is an amazing thing. With practice, it can learn to pay attention, plan ahead, prioritize, and react to events as they unfold, just like the air traffic control tower at our busy airport. With help from the community, kids can learn the skills they need to thrive in a challenging world.
So I hope that explains air traffic control and executive function more. So these are the sensitive periods from about 3 to 5, and then again from about age 12 to 25. So there's, don't worry, kids naturally do it. All we have to do is make sure their environment is free of toxic stress. So let's talk a little bit about stages of development, because I think that's important, is knowing that we look at a 3-year-old and we think, oh no, but they're way different child at 16. So when you ask a child under age 5 to do something, they comply about 40% of the time. And that means about 60% of the time, they're not listening. They're not going to do what you've asked. And that is normal. That is not a discipline issue. That's brain development. That's executive function up here. So that's okay. It gets better as they get older and their brain starts developing. So by the time they're in 19 to 25 years, if you ask them to do something and it doesn't conflict with their needs, they comply, right? Pretty well a lot of the times. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about brain development. Babies. So brain development happens from the brain stem to the back of the brain to the front of the brain. And babies are kind of in that stage of sensory input and output. So their whole job is to build attachment and trust. So fulfill their needs, learn child development. That's about good discipline tools at that age. And of course, timeout, substitution, child proofing, definitely. Redirect, distract. Young toddlers are 6 to 18 months, and now pretty well the back of the brain is developing, so they're exploring, they are building security, and then separation anxiety begins. That's normal for them. And then older toddlers, more of that center brain, the amygdala, the limbic system is very developing now, very sensitive. So they're starting to really feel their feelings at this age. Here are some characteristics of older toddlers. Because they're so frustrated and angry because they have all these wonderful things they want to do and they're not capable of doing it, they do throw a lot of tantrums, right? So, because they don't have a speech, but it's okay. They don't have self-control. They will get it later. So best discipline tool here is child-proof the environment, redirect. And again, like I said, don't project, right? If you don't address it now, you'll have many chances to teach it later. And parents feel they have to teach the most important lessons at a time when kids' brains are ill-equipped to handle the frustration of those limits, right? So your child at age 2 who constantly says, up, is not your same child at age 9 and not your same child at age 22. So don't project. Don't say, if I don't nip this in the bud, they're going to be hitting at age 16. No, they're going to have words. They're going to have executive function at 16. That's not to say you don't address it. You can say, no, we don't hit. But you don't have to hit kids to teach them not to hit. Okay? So teach. Don't have to punish. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, preschoolers, age 3 to 5. Now, more the back of the brain's developing. They're starting to think. They're starting to ask questions. They're starting their imaginations growing here, right? They're thinking of fantasy, magical thinking. Their little minds project, and they have lots of fears at this age. Again, still limited self-control and ability to plan or have a sense of time. Best tools here are time in. Spend some time with them, starting to show them ways to handle their anger. If you've said no, stay with your no. That's the hardest part about discipline, but it is. Stay with your no and start introducing problem solving at this age. Okay. School agers. So this part of the brain is developing, moving to the front. So they're starting to think concretely and logically, right? So these are some characteristics of school agers. Early 6 to 9, late 10 to 13. Again, they're getting a little more rule focused here. So they're a lot easier to chat with, to talk to, getting a lot of self-control on their anger at this stage. This is good. Best discipline tools here are to model, talk, and then action. Listen and validate their feelings, use your I statements, get into problem solving together. Best tools ever. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Teenagers, now you get the prefrontal cortex developing, and this is their abstract thinking skills. So they can think a lot more, understand consequences and the impact of their decisions, which is very good. These are characteristics of teenagers. So they're very peer conscious, age 13 to 15, very self-conscious, peer pressure. But they're interested in a lot of things too. Late teens, they become a little more academically serious, searching for their identity, getting ready for that adult world. So that's a nice stage too. Best tool here, negotiation. Absolutely. And negotiation is what's involved in problem solving. So you're in your final third of parenting here. You want to teach them relationship skills, adult skills, problem solving skills, because every relationship has problem solving in it. Okay. And what it is it's not me against you. It's us working together against the problem. And just like you would with your partner, you're treating him like an adult and saying, okay, how are we going to deal with this? We have to attack this problem. And you come up with your needs, their needs, come up with some ideas together, pick a few and do it. And then check back, is it working? Problem solving is probably the #1 discipline tool we used in our family for many, many years. We still use it. Nowadays, my young adults, they have issues over things like the laundry machine or who gets to borrow the car. So again, problem solving works. It's an adult skill that everybody needs. Okay, I'm just moving along here. And again, best discipline tool we found for school-age children is go for a walk and talk, right? For boys, that's a really good one. You say, okay, let's go for a walk and talk. Grab your runners. And once you get out there, you're walking, you're talking, things come up, you get to find out the root of problems, maybe go for a coffee and discuss things like you would a regular adult. Okay, I just want to show you this graph because as you know, as kids get older, your control decreases, but your influence increases. And this grows with age and respect. You cannot be a punishing parent and have your influence increase. In fact, it actually impacts that. So definitely want to look at non-punitive parenting. Children need lots of discussions and conversations, and especially as they're heading into emerging adulthood, which is that 19 to 25, last part of the executive development. Remember, your child at 3 is not going to be your same child at 13, right? They're going to have a little bit of difference. Okay, so what not to do for discipline? Don't spank. Spanking has all kinds of research behind it. It doesn't necessarily mean these things are going to happen, but it does have an impact on the development of executive function. If kids are, it provides a bit of toxic stress for kids if they're worried that they're going to be they're hurt by the people they trust and love. So you don't want to spank. You don't want to do timeouts either. Jail time timeouts can absolutely impact. A lot of these are reasons not to do timeouts. A lot of books advocating timeouts do not talk about these reasons that do impact communication. Don't want to do consequences. What's wrong with consequences? Well, it's a golden rule. Do unto others as you would have do them unto you. Now, here's the thing. Kids realize it's you imposing the consequence. It's not them choosing it. It's you doing it to them. And oftentimes it's designed to hurt the child rather than solve the problem. Here's the difference. So if you look at problem solving versus consequences. Consequences is one solution, usually parent imposed, usually designed to hurt, and it's artificial. It's only used on kids. We wouldn't do it to our sister-in-law, our neighbor, our partner, where problem solving is a more real-world skill. It's many solutions. It's the parent and the child coming up with ideas together. It's solving the issue, and it's real world. That's how we solve problems when we have relationships with people. Don't do internet shaming. It's more public. It destroys self-esteem. It's very permanent. It can lead to your child being bullied. And you want to model proper digital citizenship. So if you're doing this stuff, it's not good modeling. So don't do that. There's many benefits of giving up punishments. The thing is building the relationship with your child, and it's growing into a long, lifelong relationship. You're not your child's best friend, but you have a very good open communication relationship. And your child has those relationship skills with other relationships in their lives. So we kind of talked about what to do. So child-proof, redirect for little kids, child-proof. For older kids, talk, problem solve, acknowledge their feelings, use your I statements, those kinds of things. Okay, so here's the power of influence, is that you have lifelong relationships and your kids come to you when you have problems. And sometimes the best discipline tool is if you don't know what to do, give them a hug. You're not rewarding misbehavior. You're starting from a place where you both have compassion and can chat. It's really calms everybody down. Absolutely. So here's kind of a recap. For 3 and under, great discipline tools. For 4 and over, better when they're able to talk a little more. So talk, talk, talk. Natural consequences, let the world unfold. So, for example, our family was at a swimming pool and my son was disobeying the rules and he got kicked out. And I thought, well, I'm not leaving yet, so you can wait for me, outside the front. He was 9. That was okay. But I wasn't going to interfere with the natural consequences. So if you choose to be a non-punitive parent, don't worry that the rest of the world's going to punish your child. They're going to get punishments and consequences everywhere else. But the difference is you are developing a lifelong relationship with your child. They aren't. So you can set the tone of what you want to do. And you're the one with a vested interest in spending the time to problem solve with them. Nobody else is going to spend that time. So teach them a valuable relationship skill. So get yourself calm. Timeouts for you. Get your child calm. Time ins for them. Solve the problem. Spend some time together. Work it out. Okay. So, and then you got best friends forever. Yay! I just want to conclude this with one of my favorite poems is that it's okay not to be a perfect parent. This includes not being a perfect parent. This means it's okay, I've already made a lot of mistakes as a parent, and it's okay, I'll make other mistakes in the future. What's not okay is for me to pretend that I'm perfect and hide my mistakes from myself. Instead, I'll catch my mistakes with a smile rather than a kick and learn what they have to teach me. That way, I won't make the same mistakes too often, and I'll never be a perfect parent. And that's okay, because my goal is excellence, not perfection. And we don't know who the author is for that one, but that was good. So feel free if you want to email me questions. This is my email address. This is my website. I have lots of books, lots of resources on the website if you want to go there. If my books are available on Amazon and everywhere else. The new one is Attachment Parenting Tips for Toddlers to Teens. There's no advice or opinions in there. It's all tips. Tips from people who raise their kids non-punitively on how to handle pretty well any situation. So that's a new ebook if you're interested in that. And Discipline and Parenting with Patience pretty well recap what I've talked about tonight. Plugged In Parenting is a DVD on how to handle different scenarios with digital technology. So if you're interested in the Brain Story certification course, and it's a 30-hour course online, and it's offered for free through the Palix Foundation or the Alberta Family Wellness Initiative website. So feel free to go there, and it's a great course. Anybody who works with children or anybody actually would benefit from that course. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the thing, and I want to thank you if you're leaving me now for joining us tonight. And if you have questions, feel free to stay behind, and I'm going to just stop the recording right now. Thanks for joining us.